Welcome back, friends, to Build a Lot of Acres. In today's video, we're going to talk about something most men have, and they wish it was bigger. Stay tuned. So that item, of course, is going to be a workshop. Let's go inside my workshop. I'll show you around, and I'll discuss workshops in general, and I'll discuss some features and things that I think would be handy for anyone to incorporate into their workshop. Well, let's go. So we're inside my workshop. This is my, I call it my barn because I built it to look like a barn, but it's my main workshop. I also have my garage that you've seen in some other videos. It's actually a bigger space than this. But over the years, I've tried to come up with different methods and make it as efficient as possible. And what I try to do is store most of my machines in there. If I need to bring something in, I work on it, and I keep this kind of open, and then I keep all my tools in here, and it kind of works out well. Originally, I had kind of machines in both and tools in both, and it just didn't make sense. I was constantly going back and forth looking for a tool I couldn't find, and I think this way is a lot better. So we're going to talk about workshops in general and some different things that you can incorporate into your workshop. So obviously, I think most men would agree, especially men that like doing projects like I do. If I had my way, I would build a huge 60 by 100 pole barn or something and have everything I have under one roof. It would be like a small city in there, all my tools. I'd have a welding area, I'd have a mechanical area, I'd have a carpentry area, woodworking. I'd have tons of storage and it would be great. And I'd have a big loft above it and I'd have an elevator going up. But that's just not realistic for most of us, mainly because of budgetary reasons. A workshop like that, especially here in 2023, you're talking probably a couple $100,000. So the cost of what a house used to be not that long ago, and a lot of people just can't simply afford that kind of cost. Maybe they don't have the land, but there are ways that you can maximize a smaller shop, and there's also features that I think every shop could benefit from. So let's discuss. So I think the first thing that I would say any shop could benefit from is a large entrance door. That's going to allow you to get big machines in there, and it's going to allow you easier entrances and exits out of the garage or barn or workshop. One of the first things I did when I moved to this property 12 years ago, I took there was a 12 by 12 shed and it had a single 4 by 8 sheet of plywood dangling from a nail covering about a 3 foot wide opening. So a man door, I call it. It's a regular 3 foot wide, 6 foot 8 door. It wasn't even a door, it was just an opening with a piece of plywood. Very first thing I did was I enlarged that opening. I put in a new header and made it 9 feet wide. So now I have a 9 foot by 7 foot high overhead roll up garage door. And that's made it a lot easier to get machines in there. I've kept quite a few things in there. As of right now, I typically keep the zero turn in there, but I've also kept garden tractors in there. I've kept the Ford 1700 in there. It just makes it so much easier to get in and out when you have a good sized door. You don't have to worry about hitting the sides with your machine or with an implement. And once you got your rough opening framed in, you can do any style door you want. You could do an overhead door like I have in the other shed. You could do a custom set of doors like I have here. These actually are big bifold doors like you'd see inside of a house in a closet. I made these custom for this building. I've also made custom rolling doors out of wood for my other building in the garage, which you've probably seen in other videos, like so. If you already have a building, this might be harder to do than adding a bigger door, but having tall ceilings makes a huge difference. My ceilings here, for example, are about 9 foot 2 inches. So in combination with a big door, that allows you a lot of different things. Having a big tall ceiling allows you to put a lift into your building in the future. It allows you to fit bigger machinery. It allows you to put high up shelves of storage or maybe a miniature loft, so you can have extra storage in that footprint. Because if you have a small building like this barn, this is only 16 by 24 with 9 foot 2 inch ceilings, and this allows me to put extra storage up top and fit my Coyote in here comfortably and work on things and not have to worry about hitting the ceiling or having not enough headroom. So another thing that I like to do that I think anyone could do in their shop is adding lights. I have four-foot fluorescent lights, and it just brightens up the space. It allows you to see much easier. You're not looking for things in the dark. And if I'm going to be honest, I think it also puts you in a better mood, being a bright, sunny area to do your work and do what you need to do. So another important thing I think for any shop is to have adequate power to run your tools. This shop is quite a distance from the house, probably around 150 feet, and I do not want no power to run tools. I run welders, saws, grinders, drill presses, all kinds of different things. I have this good sized sub panel that was installed, and that allows me to run anything out here that I need to run. You can say I have a nice big 50 amp welding plug here, and like I said, having adequate power is real important. But I would say electrical is not something you want to screw around with. You want to make sure you hire a professional licensed electrician, make sure they pull permits and do everything by the book so that you don't end up with any kind of fires or catastrophic events for your workshop. So staying in the theme of electrical, we've talked about lights, we've talked about power in general. I would also say make sure you have plenty of outlets. I would say probably every 6 feet or so along your walls. That's going to allow you plenty of options to plug in tools, chargers, and different things so that you don't have to run as many extension cords. And I think it's just easier if you have plenty of outlets to choose from. So I would say plenty of outlets to go along with plenty of power. So this next one's actually one that I haven't done yet for this shop. I hope to soon. And this is going to really apply to us northern people that live in colder climates, and that's going to be heat. Whether it be a wood stove or electric heat or a propane heater, you want some way to heat up your garage, because when you're working on a project in the middle of winter and it's 10 degrees Fahrenheit in your building, it's just not very comfortable. It's harder to work, it's harder to be comfortable. A lot of the tools don't like that kind of cold, and things just seem to go a lot better and smoother when you're comfortable, which means the building has to be heated accordingly. So I think everyone's setup's going to be a little differently, but another huge one is going to be storage. You can see I have plenty of shelving, plenty of benches, plenty of areas to store my tools, because if you just have a big open box or rectangle with no shelving, all your tools are going to be sitting in the ground, piles, and it's just not very efficient. So I would say getting organized and having plenty of shelves, workbenches, areas to store things is another huge, huge thing, especially if you have a smaller shop like mine. Being organized and being able to easily find things is real key. And being able to have multiple shelves of different heights also enables you to free up floor space while maximizing your square footage. Keeping with the organized theme, staying organized is a huge, huge deal. Like I said, especially if you have a smaller area that you work out of like I do. My shop, this is about as organized as it gets. I'm not the most organized person, but I try to stay organized and probably clean this at least once or twice a month, it seems like. And being able to easily find your tools just makes things so much easier than looking around for one wrench for half an hour when you know you have 5 wrenches of that size. It just makes things easier, projects go quicker, smoother, and it's easier to walk around when you're not tripping over stuff. And it just looks nicer. And I would say, especially if you have a smaller shop, staying organized is a huge key to having your shop work efficiently. So another thing you could incorporate into your shed, maybe if you haven't built it yet, or if you want to change the style of the roof, is a steep roof. That's going to allow you a couple things. A, it's going to give you plenty of space for storage up there. I have a loft above this workshop. You can see the double doors behind me. The loft is the full length of the building, it's 24 feet long. The room is 11 feet wide, and it's a full 7 foot 4 inches in height. So there's plenty of space up there to do stuff. It's actually kind of disorganized right now. I got to clean it out, organize it, and then I got to add some power, maybe some lights up there to make more use out of that space. But you're basically doubling the square footage of your shop when you do something like that. And the other nice thing about a steep roof is it allows the snow to shed off nice and easy. You don't have to worry about building up, and you don't have to worry as much about potential collapses or roof shoveling for those really bad winters. So here we are in my other building. Like I said, this is where I store most of my tractors. I actually need to clean this out. This is kind of a mess. And this building is bigger than my barn. This is 23 by 20, so 460 square feet versus the barn is I think 384. It's 16 by 24. So it's definitely bigger. Plus I got 2 other areas Back there would be the shed where I store the zero turn. And I also got another room over there where I store some garden tractors. But another thing you could incorporate, if you have the ability and you haven't built your building yet, or it's pretty tall, you can incorporate an implement shelf like I did in here, and then you can store implements and different things up there with your forks, and that's going to gain you a lot of square footage. You can still park a machine underneath it, but it allows you to free up the floor space while having extra storage at your fingertips. So I do hope you guys enjoyed today's video on workshops and garages and different ideas maybe you can incorporate into your workshop. I have a ton of videos on the channel, things like this wall behind me, the sliding doors I showcased to you, and all kinds of other cool stuff. So hopefully you can check some of those out, and I'll see you next time.